Well, good afternoon, everyone. Craig back at you on the 2018 Honda Goldwing, back from Wingding 41. Made it home safely. Had a really good time. So I figured while I just got home yesterday, while things were still fresh in my memory, I would give you kind of my overview, my take on Wingding, and maybe some little other nuggets that I was thinking about. So, and then some of this you'll see in some of the other motovloggers that went to Wingding 41. I think a lot of us came up with the same type of perceptions of the event. Let's start out with number one, the location. Nashville, Tennessee. Great location. I think they did an outstanding job picking Nashville. And the reason I say that, and I will preface this by saying this is my first Wingding, so I'll say what about the location that I liked. They picked a good location as far as Nashville because you need to pick a city where there's things to do outside of the Wingding event itself. That is really important, that you pick a location that when the day is over, when the events are over at the trade show, or they're over at your guided tour, or whatever it is that you're doing, when the events are over for the day, you have something to do other than go back to the hotel room and just watch television. And Nashville accomplished that easily. One of the nights we went downtown. I think a lot of the Wingding attenders went downtown and we went to BB King's Restaurant Club, and then we walked around to all the different clubs and listened to all the different live music. That really was great. It was like worth the trip. I'd never been to Nashville before, and now you understand why they call it Music City, because it really is just one live band after another live band. I'm not exaggerating when I say on a Wednesday night, we walked around and there must have been 50 live acts playing on a Wednesday night. For most cities, a Wednesday night is not, it's not your weekend. It's not the where you're going to get the most people out. But there's a lot of people out in Nashville. It made for a really good time. And I know even after the bike night on Friday, we were already downtown because of the bike night. That was a good location. Organizers picked to have the bike night downtown. And so I know some people stayed out and enjoyed being downtown. So the location is very important, but again, more so than the event, the location is important for what you're going to do outside of that event, because you're going to go to the trade show. But what are you going to be there, an hour, 2 hours? The trade show ends at 5 p.m. So after 5 p.m., what are you doing? So you have to be in the city where there's stuff to do. A lot of restaurants, which is great. Again, you want to pick a city that has an abundance of restaurants. So any restaurant you went to, it wasn't like you're sitting there waiting for an hour for a table. It was really good. So location, as far as the city, I think I have to grade them an A. As far as the location for the trade show itself, the Gaylord Opryland, I think I keep messing up the name, but I think that's what it was called. Not so good, and I say that only because of two things. The place is beautiful. I'm not knocking the place. The reason why it wasn't good for this convention was the place is too big. It's way too big. And their wayfinding, when you go into a big place like that, any place, I should walk in the door, I should see signs for where I'm supposed to go. I said, I should not be wondering, how do I get to this place? How do I get to that place? How do I get to this place? And you'll see with some of the other motovloggers, I've seen it on some of their comments, they're 100% correct. Everybody's asking everybody, where do I go? You walk in, it's like, you're asking people, well, is Wingding here? I know it's here because I see 50,000, gold wings outside, but where in this place is it? And then which way do I go? Because there's no signage. And again, I hope at least some of the organizers might, pick up on this vlog. If you did have signage, you didn't have enough. I'll put it that way. If you had signage, it was not enough. Really, any door, any main entrance that I come into that place, I should see a sign that's directing me somewhere. Everyone is asking because no one knows where to go. So the place was too big, and it took too far to walk, and it also took And also there was no signage. There was no wayfinding so people could find their way and where, on where they needed to go. Even when I was outside in the parking lot, a guy pulled up to me on a Goldwing. I guess he had an appointment made to get some work done on inside by one of the vendors. He, for the life of him, he couldn't find out where do I drive around to drive my bike in so they can work on it. I told him, I said, your guess is as good as mine. I can't even tell you where you would have to drive to get inside so they can do work on your bike. And that was just repeated over and over and over again. So not a good location in the fact that it was way too big and way too big of an area, and their wayfinding was not great at all. Another thing, I would say, and I said this before, I didn't stay at the Gaylord Opryland, but the expense was too high. If you stayed at the location, I think, the rooms were pretty high, even though they gave you a competitive rate because they gave you a discount for for coming to Wingding. But the rooms were, I would say, $150 a night, I think is what they were charging. And also, they're charging, $10 a night to park, if you're there for the convention. And you're paying to get in. And I was watching Cruise Man's Garage recap, and he hit on something that I thought was great. I'm just going to repeat it, but I would take credit for it like I had the idea, but I really didn't. It really was from Cruise Man. He brought up the fact that, you go to these conventions and these trade shows, and they're charging, I think it was $22 for a non-GWRRA member to get in, and maybe $15 for a GWRRA member to get in. And for trade show, that's high. That's really high. Think about any other trade shows that you've been to. It could be arts and crafts show. It could be whatever. It's like most of the time it's like $7, $10 to get it. It's a nominal fee to get in the place because the whole goal is to have you spend money when you get in the place. It's not the goal to make money of you coming in. The goal is to get you in and have you make money with the vendors. Because the vendors are paying the organizers to have booths. That's where you're making your money. You're making some of your money on the people coming in, but you're making money on the vendors that have paid you a certain amount of money to set up their tables. So it shouldn't be more than $10, $12 to get in, especially on a multi-day event. $22 is way too expensive to pay to get into a trade show. It should not be that much money. And then I go back to, you add on $10 for parking. It's too expensive. And I don't like hearing, because what do people say all the time with Goldwing owners? Oh, you got a $20,000 bike, you got a $25,000 bike, you can't pay $10, $20, $30, $40 to get into a place. No, we can't. You know why? You know how you can afford a $20,000 or $30,000 bike? It's because you don't pay $20 to go into trade shows. You don't pay $4 for a bottle of water is what they were charging. The reason that most Goldwing owners can afford, are in a stage in their life where they can afford a Goldwing, is because they've made some decisions in their life that they're not going to overspend on things. And when you have that mentality that I'm not going to overspend on things, it doesn't go away just when you get older and you can afford a Goldwing. You don't want to be taken advantage of. And I think the organizers, with their prices to get into Wingding, they're taking advantage of people. It should not be that expensive to get into the event. So that was kind of my take. The trade show was good. I enjoyed the vendors. Again, it's my first time, so I don't have anything to compare it to. Some of the other people saying the trade show over years past had more vendors. I thought it was okay. I went in with the mentality, though, that I was going to Wingding for the ride, for the ride down there and ride around while I was there and to meet some people, meet some other Goldwing riders. I wasn't going for the trade show. So I guess here's the advice that I would have for you. If your number one purpose to go is to go to Wingding, is to go for the trade show, and that's it. You're not interested in doing anything else. You just want to go to the trade show. You're not interested in driving along distance, riding along distance. You're not interested in any of the rides when you get there, any of the scenic areas. Then I would say only go to Wingding if you can make it a day trip. Then you go up for the trade show. You enjoy the trade show for the one day, and then you go back. You go back home. But I went because I got a Goldwing I want to ride, and the trade show to me was secondary. It was, I wanted to meet people, which, and that's why I would say for me, Wingding was a success. It was a success because I was able to get out and meet some people and make some friends and then talk about, Wingding next year. in Springfield, Missouri. And even when I was leaving, I had some people come up to me and say, hey, you going to be here next year? Yeah, that'll be the plan. I'll be there next year, because they're going to be there. And I think that's the mentality you have to have. This trade show has to be secondary. It's an added bonus to you meeting up with friends and you enjoying a Goldwing ride, because the trade show in itself is not enough to make someone drive hundreds and hundreds of miles to go see that trade show. And it's not a knock on the vendors. It has to be considered a bonus. It's a good bonus for a vacation that you want to take. Side note, I do want to thank the Goldwing Riders Association, or chapter. I think I got this right. I'm not a member, so if I'm messing up words, please forgive me. The Wings, I think it's Wings of Wesley Chapel in Florida, their chapter. I want to thank them. They were great. They went out on a ride. I think it was Thursday. They were in Tennessee, and they invited me to go with them, which was nice because, your chapter doesn't have to invite non-members. And, and they asked me if I wanted to go, and I said, sure, and had a great time with them. We went out and we went to a reservoir. I don't know the name of the place. And had lunch there, brought our lunch and had a lunch by the reservoir and then rode back. So I want to thank them, for the hospitality that they showed me. And that's why, I say that that's what wingding was about to me. The people that you meet and the friendships that you establish, and everything else is secondary. So, all right, I'm at the supermarket because that's where I was going, and I got to grab a couple things, and we will pick up this vlog after this commercial break. Really, it's not a commercial break. I'm just going to get some stuff. All right, I'll be back. Okay, out of the store and back to the vlog. So, once again, don't want to be too negative. I thought Wingding 41 overall was a success, but it is what you decide to make out of it. And so, let that be your determining factor on whether it'd be good for you to visit Wingding, be good for you to attend. One other thing I wanted to bring up. All right, lady, what are we doing? One other thing I wanted to bring up was one of my earlier videos. I told you I installed the Healy bars for this trip, and I did approximately 1,700 miles total. I installed them right before I left to go down to Nashville, and by the time I got back, it was 1,700 miles. So when I installed the Healy bars, I installed them in the tour position. They have the tour position and they have the sport position. Tour position brings them back, I don't know, about 2 inches, a little over 2 inches. Brings them up, raises them up a little bit, and brings them back a little over 2 inches. I will say, going back to one of my earlier videos, reasons I did it was that I was experiencing some back pain. I don't know if it was posture related or the positioning of the bars, but I figured I would try the tour position. So it moved my arms back. It did help with me sitting more upright. So I was able to sit more upright, and I did pay attention to it more. So I didn't experience any back pain. So I don't know if that's solely because of the Healy bars, or is it because that I'm paying more attention to my posture, or is it because I'm getting accustomed to riding longer distances? That could be it as well. Your body gets, adjusted to sitting in the seat, hour after hour. So, but good news, no back pain whatsoever on this trip. I will say though, the tour position, brought back the bars, it does have a weird effect on the angle of your wrist. So, do the Healy bars work? Yes, they do work, but not for me, not yet. So I know that's kind of a convoluted answer. So the Healy bars definitely work. If you have shorter arms and the reach is getting to you, bringing them back to that tour position is going to help you immensely. So I would say definitely do that. Raising them and bringing them back is going to help you if you have shorter arms and you're struggling for that reach. Didn't help me because I have longer arms. But what I did was, as soon as I got back, in fact I did it today, I readjusted the Healy bars and put it in the sport position. The sport position raises them up a little bit and actually pushes them forward from the stock position. I don't know, maybe it's a half an inch. So the bars are much more forward. So I haven't had enough time to ride it. Got to ride it again for a while, but I can already tell I think I like this position better for me because my arms are longer and it doesn't give you that awkward wrist bend if you have long arms and you put them in the tour position. So I'm saying the Healy bars, I'm still testing them. I'm just testing them in a different position. I will say though, because I found this out from the owner of Healy bars, he had a vendor booth set up at Wingding. So the version that I have, I think it's Gen 1, that I talk about has the tour position and the sport position on how to adjust the bars. Well, the new version of the Healy bars does not have that. It's just one position that you put in. I think it's called the tour performance position is what he said it was. And it's somewhere in between the sport position and the tour position. And I think it helps with the wrist angle a little bit. So just so you know, if you do, think about ordering Healy bars, you might not be talking about the same version, still Healy bars, but the same version of the product that I have, because there's two different mounting positions for the handlebars in the version that I have, whereas now they're down to one. Also, he did introduce a whole new handlebar system for the 2018 Honda Goldwing. And I'm not sure what the pricing of that is going to be. He did say they're in production now. So you can go on Healy Bar's website. I don't know if they're available to order yet. But he did, instead of just making these handlebar risers, he's decided that he is going to create an entirely new handlebar that you can put on your Goldwing that's supposed to help with the positioning better. So I don't want to really say what it is or what it isn't, because I don't have that many details about it. So I would, if you are, interested in that, I would go to that website, Healy Bar's website, and you can take a look at it. And I'm sure if they're not available for pre-order already, they will be soon. So that's kind of my take on that. I will try out the sport position for a while and see how that works. And that's kind of it for my my recap of Wingding 41. Looking forward to Wingding 42. I would ask this for those of you that do live in the Springfield, Missouri area where they're going to have Wingding 42. If you can kind of help all of us and just put in some of the comments, like, what is there to do there? What is there to do? Outside of going to Wingding. What is there to do, and is there some great riding over there? I guess it's the Ozarks area. Again, I don't know much about it at all. Never been to Missouri in my life, so that'll be a first. But for those of you that do live in that area and are Goldwing riders, or any motorcycle rider, if you live in that area, kind of give us kind of the highlights on what to look forward to for next year. So again, thanks for watching the video. As I always say, get out, do what you like to do, enjoy yourself. Ride your motorcycle, ride your bike, do whatever it is that you like to do. Play chess, whatever it is, whatever your passion is. Enjoy your passion. And have a great day, everyone.